and welcome. My name is Ranjani Saigal, and today it's my pleasure to introduce to all of you Minaxi Choksi, an artist from California, USA. A graduate in fine arts and graphic arts from Mumbai, India, Minaxi has had a wide and varied career in the US. After spending several years running her own business, she then came back into the arts and has studied and made art on various mediums, including watercolors, glass fusion, ceramics, fiber arts, and others. But her passion is in the art of calligraphy, which she thinks is very meditative and relaxing. Currently, she serves as the art director at the Art Center of Southern California. And her mission in life is to promote Devnagari calligraphy, Devnagari, which she believes comes from the land of the gods. She is also an AKAL, IndiArt ambassador. AKAL Vidyalaya is an organization that brings education and empowerment to over 100,000 rural remote villages. And she is an art ambassador who is doing an outreach for this program and also offering workshops in art for the program while supporting digital literacy in rural India. Minaxi ji, what a pleasure to see you. Namaste and welcome to Lokvani.
Namaste, namaste. Thank you for such a good introduction, Rajni ji. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And I am really intrigued to know that you actually were a foreigner to India for a very long time, as in were born in Kenya. And then you moved to India and then started a career in arts. Could you tell us about that journey? How did you become a fine arts graduate? Indians always become doctors and engineers. So I would love to know how you became a fine arts graduate.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Usually, coming from a large family, I had lots of brothers, and they are mostly doctors and engineers and physical therapists. So they're all in different fields. So they saw my art and they said, why don't you go for the art program, So my parents were really open-ended. My mom was one of the first ones to go to a university in Karachi, well, the undivided India at that time, So she was the first woman to go to the university. So they were all for education. With the same token, they said, whatever field you want to go in, they encouraged that. So I was raised like that. When I grew up in Kenya, I used to doodle a lot, do lots of patterns. And my teachers used to think that my brothers were doing it, So they would never give me credit for it, full credit. They would grade me down, as a matter of fact, And when I went to India for my studies and schooling, and one of the teachers in high school recognized my talent, and she spent her extra time. She would come on Saturdays and all that to teach me, to prepare me for the board exams, for the Maharashtra board exam, to go for the art school. And my brother said, oh, if you are so good, you must go for that. That's how I got into the art program in India.
That's amazing that a teacher took so much time to come and encourage a student, and that you went ahead and did art in India. So what was it like going back to India from Kenya? Was it a challenge? How did you enjoy going to school in India as a foreigner in the old days?
Yeah, back then, there wasn't any NRI or something, so they couldn't grasp the fact that when I went there, I was in 4th grade. So the Hindi and Marathi started in 2nd and 3rd grade, and I didn't even know Devnagari to write the alphabets also. So the teachers, one of the Marathi teachers said, oh, you are so dumb. You don't even know the alphabets yet. And you're in 4th grade, you don't know that? But I was able to catch up to it.
My goodness. And you learned the alphabets late, and that's why you are the most beautiful alphabet writer, calligrapher. With Devnagari, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, a language that you didn't pick up till a little bit later in life. And but now you came to the US and you became a businesswoman, right? And what was it like to get back into art again after, I think you said after quite a while you went back to the arts?
Right. It was interesting, when I came to this country, I didn't have the so-called job skills. So I went first for computer programming, and then when I got married, so I didn't even become a computer programmer as such. I started helping my husband with the business, and that's where I started doing a little bit of jewelry designing and all that, and more of the business skills were acquired back then. So I did that for 20 years. So hadn't touched my brushes for almost 30 years.
Wow.
Because after that, the kids were born, and so I didn't touch my brushes for almost 30 years.
Wow.
And then when I got into the school's volunteering programs, I realized I was the president of the foundation, and I needed to get back to my, to coordinate anything, needed to get all my job skills. So I went to the adult school, which I recommend highly. Everyone who don't know what to do should always go to an adult school. So that's where I got into these programs. I started doing watercolor and calligraphy and lots of different mediums. So.
Yeah. And you just enjoyed coming to why calligraphy? How did that happen? Going from all these watercolors to me, painting, I would have never thought of calligraphy as an art, form. So how did that happen? And very interesting that you learned that at a adult school, would love to know more about that.
Yes, I did have one of the subjects when I was in the fine art program, but calligraphy here is very, very different. It's more explored here. Plus, it has more proficient calligraphers in this country compared to India. Right. So I got a very good background, and I have been into that program for over 11 years. I've invested a lot of time onto that. Yeah. And now what I do is I develop that much foundation that I can implement those skills, the fundamentals to this, our Devnagari calligraphy.
Right.
Because Devnagari calligraphy wasn't as artistic as our Urdu and all that. So I think we need to explore more, and there's a lot of room to explore. And I think we can do it as a combination because of the art skills and calligraphy. We can take it much further.
And why is that the calligraphy wasn't as explored, do you think, amongst Devnagari as opposed to other texts?
Right. According to what I heard and what I studied, what I read, they say it was because of the Guru Parampara. They realized the moment things are scripted, that would revolutionize the whole education. And I think in a way that's what happened, where all the caste system was broken down because of the scripts. And Devnagari is, Devnagari is one of the scripts of the Indian languages. Right. There are more than 13 developed scripts which India has, which I feel, that slowly it's getting diminished instead of getting encouraged to develop it more. While as the Latin calligraphy, they say Latin or Roman, it's because people get confused between the script and the language. Yeah. So that is, the script is the Latin script, and that 120 countries use that in Latin, while as Devnagari, we have 120 languages which use that. So I think it's important to flare it out,
Flare it out, yeah. I really believe, I think the reason that, writing wasn't as emphasized is, I think, in my opinion, I'm a dance teacher, and I notice this when I teach, right? If you don't have it in your mind, if you're relying on books, if you're relying on things, I think the Indian way of thinking is it doesn't internalize, and I think thus, even the sutras and all that were written were very cryptic. They were not full information, and I don't think they were hiding the information, in my opinion. I know that when I started to teach dance, I thought video would be great, that kids can now video and do it, but they forget, they cannot internalize it unless you memorize, unless you internalize. So I think that might have been something, but again, I'm not an expert on the subject, so who knows why, what happened. Right. But grateful to people like you who are really taking this on and making, the beauty of the script. I mean, if I look at it, I mean, the Sanskrit or the Devnagari is coming everywhere in the art, right? I see a lot of oms being written, a lot of different things. So I'm so glad you're exploring it and sharing it, with everybody. So I think that's a really fantastic thing. Yeah. So, and how has the reception been to Devnagari amongst other calligraphers?
Oh, it was really welcoming. I did not even realize that the calligraphers would like the Devnagari script as much as, because to teach them, they learn it as an art form. That's why it's becoming so popular. If you see any of the tattoo artists,
Yeah.
they are learning Devnagari now because of the Om. They wanted to learn the Om the correct way, because some of them you can make out that it's not done by a proficient person, because they were doing it wrongly. So then they realized it's important to learn the script. Wow. So now there are more people trying to learn Sanskrit and now into the Devnagari script,
Right.
So,
yeah, I think also it's the messages, right? I mean, the Sanskrit, the scriptures are so powerful. I mean, meditation and things that we kind of took for granted, now. So that's the interesting thing. I think the language is a medium to not only just when you do the calligraphy, it's not just about conveying a message. It's actually bringing emotions and meaning, and that's probably, is that right? When you do a calligraphy, it is much more than just doing a random painting. Am I right?
Right. See, for me, I think all art forms are for Zen. It touches this thing, but calligraphy really struck a chord. It touched my soul. It was really, I mean, until then, when I was doing all the art form, it was more outward, to show it to people how to do it. But this became like, okay, this is for me. And when you're concentrating, especially when you're writing certain sutras, you're so focused, because if I've done so many times whenever there's a project, and if there is one letter which goes wrong, I have to redo the whole thing if I cannot correct it. Wow. So it requires that much concentration. And then when I started doing certain projects, like if I start in the morning, like 7, 8, 9 o'clock, and if I'm going till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, sometimes I even forget to eat also. So it's that meditative, and that's why I think even the Buddhists, as a matter of fact, even the Christians, they wrote the Bible. It was handwritten, and it is a very meditative form.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Wow. So that's the kind of thing that you are going to be, I think, teaching in our workshop. So I'd love to know, first of all, thank you so much for being an ECALART ambassador. But I'd like to know, why are you giving your time to be an ECALART ambassador, and what can we expect in your workshop?
It started as a very serendipity moment, so then how I started teaching into the Jain Center of Southern California. And under that, so I realized, that if I read somewhere that the acquired knowledge, if it's not shared, it's being selfish. So then I thought, okay, it's time that I start doing. That's when I got onto the art program, and that's how I started on the program. And with the ACAL, that I thought it was the perfect platform, because there are more Hindi-speaking people, and some of them would know how to write the script, so it would be easier to teach on that 1 hour time slot, which is very tricky.
I understand that. But so what about ACAL itself? Like, I know that it's a volunteering thing that you did for ACAL, and why did you decide to join yourself with the cause?
I like ACAL's cause, because sometimes I feel, that education is overrated, in the sense everybody doesn't have to be an engineer or doctor. The fact that ACAL is taking it to the rural areas is literacy, that to every level, that is more important than just making them doctors and engineers and urbanizing it. I thought taking them to the rural areas, making them more independent in their own environment, that was more important for me. And then, and the fact with the seed banks and what is happening, I thought bringing education back to the rural area will get them more independent, to educate them how to use the fertilizer, how to do, because it's more individualized program. rather than comprehensive this thing that everybody goes through the same this thing. No, they have individualized it to their needs. And that is the most characteristics about this ACLS program. And that's what I really like about it.
You really caught on. I think that's so true that everybody says, are you making an engineer or a doctor? But you're so right that that's not for everybody. We need the engineers and the doctors, but the people need to attain their potential. And wow, you really caught that on. So thank you for understanding that holistic development is actually very critical, and keeping them in the villages, because we cannot bring everybody,
Yeah.
600,000 villages cannot be put into all the urban areas that we have today. So that is great. Well, I'm really looking forward to your workshop where I learned to write Devnagari better. I love the scriptures. They are, my favorite. I chant them all the time. I studied Sanskrit as a child, so I love the script. And I think it's, actually in our school, we had it from 4th grade, and I think it's just beautiful. The way it's written itself, there's more to it, a shloka than just what you hear, right? The words, the writing, the emotions, and the meditation of it. So what advice would you have for young people who want to explore something like a Devnagari in America where they may not know the language? Any suggestions?
It is an artistic form. So learn it as an art form. Even if you don't know the scripture, doesn't matter. Learn the strokes first. And I would always suggest calligraphers to learn from the classic style. That is more important, to learn the fundamentals properly from the real teachers rather than trying to learn something wrong and then trying to correct it. If you learn from the YouTubes, yes, there are quite a few good YouTubes, but how do you scan them? So that learn from a good calligraphers who know the thing, then develop your own style. So that's what I would recommend to any calligrapher, because any wrong stroke, there is nothing right or wrong, but to learn that's how I've been trained, more classical style. Yeah. So, and then you can take it, explore it to more further things.
Now, I think there's a beautiful, I love it, what you said is, classical training gives you the tools, and then of course your individuality comes right up. And what you said, YouTube may not be a guru for everybody. A good guru cannot be replaced, very easily. So two very beautiful things. And thank you for that, and thank you for exploring this ancient art form and bringing it to so many people. You're not only bringing calligraphy and your art, but really connecting people to a tradition that can make a difference in their lives. So thank you for what you do, Minaxi ji, and look forward to your workshop. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so for the patriotic calligraphy.
Oh, yeah, tell me. I'm sorry, you're going to call it the patriotic calligraphy. Why patriotic?
Because I think Jarna Didi has sent it so well. She programmed this thing, because August 15th.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing our 14th, which will be in real time. We'll be celebrating at the crack of dawn with India.
That is the patriotic. Oh my God. Learn Devnagari on August 14th. So we can celebrate. Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Minaxi ji. I will bring my flag and we will learn how to do calligraphy.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Jai Hind, Jai Hind. God bless you. God bless you.